What is your take on the current like scene in metal? Like, where do you see this headed? Because I have this thought or conversation, I should say, with students all the time on like Lorna Shore is the shit right now. Where is that
Yeah.
headed? Where's that is I feel like deathcore's on its way out. Something new's happening. Like, where do you think the next thing is?
I think the next thing, which is people will scoff at this because for better or worse, again, my superpower is that I can like see the future.
Predict, dude. That's
Um,
why I'm asking you. You're
which
Metal Damas.
people hate. I think the thing that we will look back on as being significant, I would say, is like alternative pop. For example, like Olivia
GK.
Rodrigo
Okay, yeah.
would be an example of this. It's a lot of these like women, I think, is, Charlotte Sands, you could put Charlie XCX as kind of part of that. I
Uh-huh.
think we're going to look back on that as like part of alternative culture in a way that like currently people kind of don't. Like everyone hates Olivia Rodrigo now and thinks she's blah 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 blah.
Really?
Um,
Isn't she
yeah,
like the biggest selling ever or some shit?
yeah. Oh shit, yes. But the people who decide these things,
Got you. Got you. The haters.
um, yes, exactly. And they talk about her exactly the same way they talked about Paramore and stuff 15
Mhm.
years ago. Now that's not like directly metal, but I mean, there's people like Maggie Lindemann and stuff like that. She has like I think it's out now. Like she has a straight up gent song on her album, stuff like that. I mean, it's more metal than people. Lil Uzi Vert, just went to number one on Billboard with an album that has Bring Me the Horizon and Baby Metal on it. And the guy from Paleface Swiss wrote one of the songs, and it's fucking number one on Billboard. You know, so I think there's a lot of this sort of alternative pop and hip hop stuff that is like very obviously a part of the culture that isn't currently recognized as
So
such.
true. So
That
true.
I think in 10 years, because it takes a while, rock people are kind of slow to adapt. I
Yeah, Led
think, I mean,
Zeppelin
and
just
Ice
got
Nine
old.
Kills. What's that?
Led Zeppelin just got old.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Ice Nine Kills is a good example of this. Took 15 years for Ice Nine Kills to become an overnight success.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I think. In regards to like metal in particular, I think the rise of like home recording and just the technology, I think, is unlocking like a whole like I don't think this stuff will ever be like on MTV. It's not gonna be like mainstream kind of stuff, I don't think. But basically there's a whole generation of people who want to be the next Misha, Tim, whatever, that are this combination of like guitarist slash content
Entrepreneur.
creator
Yeah.
slash producer
I,
slash entrepreneur.
I almost see the whole like musician, producer, business. Like I just almost look at like
Same
musicians
thing.
are entrepreneurs now.
Yes,
Like it's
exactly.
it's it's
Exactly.
entrepreneurs who have an instrument in their hands is like really what it
Yeah,
feels
who
like.
also make TikToks and YouTube videos,
Yeah.
and do lessons and sell
Exactly.
plugins, you
Yeah.
know, and maybe have like a clothing brand or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's the future. And that stuff may not get to number one on Billboard or whatever, but there's no reason you couldn't make a couple $100,000 a year doing it, even if nobody, in the mainstream knows who you are. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. Niches are still absolutely livable.
Yeah,
Totally.
Periphery is not on the cover of Rolling Stone, but Misha's got a nice fucking car collection.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. And they're happy and they're fucking covered, you know?
Yeah, and they can do whatever they want on their own terms.
Yeah. Dude, have you
Like, what more could you want than that?
have you heard of Max Martin before?
Yeah,
Do you know
yeah.
do you know that whole backstory?
Some of it I know. Shellback was in a Sumerian core band.
Who's Shellback?
Shellback is like his like right hand man, his like protege,
Oh, I didn't know
and
that.
he was in a band. I think they were on Nuclear Blast. I forget, but yeah, he was in like a metalcore band.
So this it speaks exactly to what I was about to say. So for those of you guys who don't know, Max Martin is the undisputed number one producer songwriter of all time. He will never be
Yeah,
beaten because record sales will never be like they were in the 90s.
he has
Um,
like 25 number one hits and like 100 top 10 ones or something like
and
that.
he's still like relevant. He's still doing it to
Yeah,
this day. He's still writing songs for people. But like if you think of any major 90s song, like all the Britney Spears, all the NSYNC, all the Backstreet Boys, all the 98 Degrees, all the fucking any of those
and Taylor
bands,
Swift.
he wrote all of that shit, dude. He wrote
Yeah.
all of it, right? Max Martin's favorite band in the world is In Flames, right? So the number one guy who cracked the code of pop music is actually bringing in the algorithms of metal into pop
Right.
music. And that happened
Yeah,
in
a
the 90s.
huge percentage of the people who make pop are metal people.
Yeah, I mean
Like
Zed
I
was
would say
also
maybe even the majority of them.
yeah, because it's like wouldn't you rather be overtrained? Like wouldn't you want to lift 200 pounds so that if your job is lifting 100 pounds, super easy? Like that's what being a metal musician is like if I go this far, anything before that's going to be a breeze, right?
Yeah.
But just going on that notion that like everything that we all grew up on in the 90s was built on metal structure of like the build up, the drop, the breakdown,
Right.
the like Max Martin has an equation for writing hits. And if I
Mm.
could explain this if you're interested, it's pretty fucking wild, but the concept is basically that like he brought metal songs to people through a different scope. So now all the people who grew up loving metal without knowing it was metal are finding metal. And I think
Interesting.
I feel like this is a really big part of why all of a sudden, besides the tism comment we were just making a second
Yeah.
ago, uh, probably both play hand in hand with it. But I think that
Yeah.
that's something huge to do with it. Like Max Martin planted these metal seeds in the fucking 90s, and now
Mm.
everyone who's in like the power play position, because we're all old enough now, that's what
Yep.
we that
Oh,
was our
that's
foundation.
totally true.
That was our roots, you know.
Yeah.
But that shit is just so true. I just love the fact that like everything that we thought was pop and glittery actually came from metal. It's fucking awesome.
The more you know.